Big week in WoW because it's the final week of a lot of things, starting with Love is in the Air event, which actually ends today. So if you haven't gotten some of these items, go kill some apothecaries, go spend your love tokens, go do all the things you got to do, because today is the last day for a lot of these Love is in the Air event items. In fact, it's the last day for all of them until they come back in the next one next year. So yeah, check your screen real quick, get these items. This all ends today. Get in there and get that done. Besides that, next week is a big week for WoW. That's right. We got Season 2 beginning in 2 weeks and the patch kicking off next week. So some people are getting confused, I see out there in the chat before I started the stream today and everything else. February 25th is the week Undermined goes live. That'll also mark the end of Season 1, but that'll not mark the beginning of Season 2. There's always a lag of about a week between when things begin and when things cut off in WoW. So February 25th, Undermined will open. That'll mean you get to go in, do all the quests, do the storyline, you know, do your drive stuff, set yourself up for the season. You can even do the new dungeon, what's it called? Operation Floodgate. Do it in heroic form. You know, you can go in there, check it out for the first time. You will not be able to do it in Mythic yet. You'll not be able to do anything in Mythic until Season 2 kicks off, and that won't be until March 4th. So mark your calendars for, yeah, that's when the raid opens up. That's when the Mythic season opens up. That's when everything will start to begin in terms of gearing out. So you have about a week where you can kind of calm down for a little bit and actually enjoy the patch until the rat race begins once again for basically getting all your gear up and getting your IO straight and everything else. Season 1 will end when Undermine goes live, so this will be the final week for a lot of items with Season 1. So I'm going to talk about one of those really rare items that I feel like people aren't talking about, and then there's a list of a bunch of other items that you're going to have to get before the season ends. Of course, as I mentioned before, Undermined, the Undermine raid, Liberation of Undermine, will be opening on March 4th. You'll be able to get in there, 8 new raid bosses, story mode difficulty, raid finder, normal, heroic, and mythic difficulties will be open all at once, and raid finder will be open only for Wing 1, Wing 2, March 11th, Wing 3, March 18th, and then Wing 4, March 25th. That'll mark the date when finally the raid is completely open in raid finder. By the way, some people were asking this, that new Renown track. Yes, you will be able to advance on it on any difficulty. So if you get in, you find that normal or heroic are too hard, just complete about half the raid in Raid Finder, and you'll be able to advance just as easily as anybody else is doing Mythic raiding or anything else. That thing is not difficulty limited. Now, as far as story mode goes, I'm not completely sure if story mode will allow you to advance on the Renown track. I don't know if anyone in chat knows that answer or not. I was asked that question over the weekend. I'm not quite sure. If I had to bet, I'd say no, because I feel like story mode is just a story mode. That's all it is. There are no achievements or anything to be had out of that thing. Raid Finder might be the lowest difficulty you can use to advance on the Renown track, but that's to be determined. I don't know. If someone figures that out, they can say it in chat or down in the comments below. We doing Heroic Queen, Sam? For the 100th time? I don't know, man. We've done it so many times. I don't know if we're going to kill it again. Story mode is just the last boss, so there you go. I don't think that'll help you on the Renown track at all. Last chance for the Algari Dungeon Weaver achievement credits for Season 1. Now, this one hasn't been talked about a lot, and maybe because this achievement will not be able to be completed yet when this first season ends, but you need to do these things if you eventually want to complete this achievement. So if you don't know what this achievement is, this achievement requires you to complete all Kaz-Elgar dungeons on Mythic difficulty in all 3 class types: DPS, tanking, and healing. Now, one little trick for this only marks your class or your spec based on what you are when the final boss goes down. So you can do an entire dungeon as a DPS and then switch over to healing in the final kill and then get that thing done. But Mythic difficulty for all the dungeons in Kaz-Elgar. Now, what this requires is for you to do the 4 that were available in Season 1 before they go away. Now, one thing that was different about Dragonflight is there was a Season 4 in Dragonflight, which brought back all the dungeons in Mythic difficulty and allowed you to get them done all at once. Well, there's no guarantee we're going to get a Season 4 this time around. Midnight might come out before that happens. That's my bet. I think we're only getting 3 seasons this time around. So you're going to want to get these dungeons done because you're not sure which ones are going to come back in Season 3, how Season 3 is going to look. Is it going to be all the Kaz-Elgar dungeons? Is it going to be something else? We're not sure.
Wasn't season end usually a few hours before next season, or did they change it again?
Maybe. Maybe they're gonna keep the season alive. I've had times where there's no season active for a week. I've had times where the season continues up until the last season. So I don't know. Just mark your calendars as of right now for this being the last week of Season 1. I'm not sure. I'll check the in-game calendar when we get in there. But what I will say is this achievement right here. Be safe. Queue up for the Khaz-Elgar dungeons, because if you want to eventually get this is what you get for the achievement. You get the Khaz-Elgar Elgarian Dungeoneer achievement. Defeat every dungeon in Khaz-Elgar on Mythic or Mythic Keystone difficulty as a tank, healer, and damage dealer. This is what you get for it. Now, not the most exciting thing, but still cool. Nice little show-off thing here. You got a little patch of gold and stuff. You look like a merchant from Aladdin or something. But anyways, it's a cool achievement to get. This is probably your last week to be able to get the first set of Khaz-Elgar dungeons, and then moving on to there. Oh, not worth it? It's scaring. No, people actually think Sam is an authority on anything. True. My wife doesn't, and many people in WoW don't, so I would take their advice and not consider me an authority on anything either. But Season 1 ending, whether it's this week or the following week, getting this done will be very important if you want to get this achievement. Moving on, last chance items as well.
Always use another death knight.
Again, so Season 1 wraps up with the release of the Undermine.
What up, everyone?
Oh my god, Tundra Freeze, 27 months. That's way too long. I don't know how you still have your sanity. 27 months of Tundra Freeze subbing to this channel. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Death Knight and mod of our Scourge. The War Within Season 1, here it is, wraps up with the release of Undermined Content Update. The release of the Undermined Content Update is going to be on the 25th, so I don't know if you consider that to be the start of Season 2, which is March 4th, or whether or not Season 1 will continue on beyond that. I don't know. Are we going to have a debate right now in the chat as to when Season 1's going to end? You guys fight it out, and whoever's left standing, let me know. Because right now, for me, I read these notes as saying this is going to end when Undermine goes live, not when Season 2 starts. So, I don't know. Take it for a great assault. Obviously, there's all the different, Mythic Plus, PvP, Season 1, Arena, all that stuff, all these achievements, they all end right when the Season 1 ends. So this is your last chance to get a lot of those things, including Mythic Queen Ansurek, the War Within Keystone Hero, Elite, the War Within, obviously AOTC. All these things will no longer be available. Cutting Edge, Hall of Fame, once this season ends. So there you go. Aren't you meant to be the news provider, Mr. Beaver? Yeah, but people are saying I'm wrong about the news, so I'm just asking. Am I wrong or am I not? I have no idea. The morning, yes, War Within Keystone Explorer, obviously all the Keystone achievements as well. PvP Season 1 rewards, as I mentioned before, those will be gone too. And then War Within Season 1 Delve rewards. Yes, Delves are seasonal as well. Some people might not know that. Getting these achievements will be your last chance to get many of them. And then prepare for the journey into Undermine, Isle of Dorn, Ringing Deeps, Hallowfall, Ashkahet. Finishing out the chapters of those stories into will be important to begin your adventure into Undermine. This will be available even when the Undermine patch goes live, but you're going to want to get these things done, because next thing you want to do is go into Undermine. You don't want to be doing old story shit when everyone else is doing the new stuff. So get these things done and get ready for Season 2 and Undermine to kick off starting next week and the following week. Housing. Player housing. Let's talk a little bit about player housing. Everything else is real fast pace. Here it is. So these are the pictures we got, right? And we're going to have a little discussion on them because they left some people wanting more. Obviously, there's two themes to these. We have the human theme household, and we have the orc theme household, right? Now, obviously, you got your spikes, your tenty, your mud hut style, and then you got your glorious alliance style, which I personally prefer, the human style, very nice looking stuff. But some people wanted more. And Blizzard said they will eventually give more. But when that eventually is, we have no idea. But here are some hints, maybe, and some desired looks, I should say, for people and what they want in housing. So we're going to go through this list here. First off, the Draenei, the Lightforged Draenei. Some people maybe want the crystal-esque look, right? I've always thought the Draenei have beautiful music, a cool aesthetic for sure. Exodar, probably one of the least visited places in the game. But the Draenei certainly have a specific aesthetic to them, right? They have obviously crystal-y, light-forged stuff, very purpley look to them. That's always been a thing with them. Not much in terms of like what their houses might look like or furniture, but they've always had that, that aesthetic of kind of being nomads on Azeroth. So what would their homes look like? This might be a cool thing to explore. Besides that, dwarves and dark iron dwarves, yes, obviously very squared out. Making love on this bed would certainly, be an adventure. Obviously very undergroundy, dungeony looking. Dwarves love to live in mountains and stuff like that. So there's a lot of aesthetic that you could pull from the dwarven themselves and create a cool housing look for them. Gnomes and mecha gnomes. Hey, why not add leper gnomes in here as well? But yes, very gadgety, very steampunky. Actually, I would say more steampunk is more goblins, whereas engineering and more, tinkery, more, I don't know, fantasy-ish tinker style is more of the gnome aesthetic. This could work for a lot of things. If you've ever been into any of the gnome section in Ironforge, that's, kind of the aesthetic that it probably looked like, very cog. Yeah, clop, clop, what is going on? Here we go again with Dry Eye. Yes, the Dry Eye, the Dry Eyes. Kultiran. Now, Kultiran's aesthetic is actually much more fleshed out. The newer races you're going to see have much more going for them because Blizzard always has added in more detail as this game has gone on. And the Kultiran, obviously, seafaring folk, right? They've got a very cool looking aesthetic. If you've ever gone into the bottom of the Kultiran ships, there is so much in terms of aesthetic that you could look at for them. And like the way that their rooms could look, the way that their beds could look, their chairs, their desks, everything else. Very, as I said, seafaring folk. Open ocean, krakens on the wall, pictures of certain things, oceany style. Yes, the pirate aesthetic could be found through the Kultirans for sure. Night elves, yes, the night elves have always had a very particular aesthetic to them. Obviously, very druidic, woodsy looking. These pictures are from Darnassus. I remember these rooms specifically. I remember tipping a lot of night elf women to dance on these beds for me back in the day when I started playing this game at the young, ripe age of 15 years old. So these rooms have special meaning to me. Would I ever want my house to look like this? Maybe, maybe not. But the night elf aesthetic is a very specific one to WoW. It's one of the OGs of WoW, and I actually would like to see these added in later on. What's up, Dread? Moving on to the Worgen. Yes, the Worgen actually have a very nice and fleshed out aesthetic, very gothic looking. The Worgen have a ton of, yes, gold and red in their aesthetic for sure. Now, you got to remember, too, the Worgen were originally a human race, right? They were obviously that one's Cobber Petty. Like, this is really nice. To me, this is really nice. I've always thought the Worgen aesthetic was very, very cool. The roses, it's like I said, a very England Gothic aesthetic. That's the way I would best describe it. Certainly something that we could see in player housing later on. It could be one that works out as a side trap for what the humans give currently. But a nice one from the Worgen. Blood Elves, probably one of the more popular requests out there, right? You got your very whimsical, elfy, high fantasy look. Yeah, I mean, look, say what you want about the Blood Elves. These beds say something about what they do in here, for sure. This big, cushiony bed with the step up, very phallic looking, very chody looking, I should say, these beds, and then the crepes over there. They're going to get a ton of reworks. See, these things haven't aged very well, I would say. I mean, this looks like 2-bit chairs right here. But everything in Silvermoon from the ground up is getting reworked for the Midnight expansion, so there's going to be a whole new set of furniture and everything else coming out for the Blood Elves, so a ton of content they could use if they wanted to put them into housing. Goblins, yes, we're going to get a lot of this in the coming patch. The Goblins have a very specific aesthetic. Their aesthetic is very much like, I don't know, leopard skin, zebra skin, Mafia-esque, steampunk, banana wallpaper. I mean, it's just out there. It's wild, right? It's very tinkery as well, but a different vibe to it. There's very steampunk looking goblins, yeah. And I think this is something they could certainly do. Obviously, with Undermined coming out, there's a ton of new items they could use, a bunch of up-res stuff they could use. So the Goblins one's probably more likely than not because they just recently got the biggest refresh to their look and their aesthetic. So they could certainly have player housing eventually. The Nightborn. Yes, who didn't love Suramar? Who didn't want to live in Suramar? So who wouldn't want to live in a Suramar-style house? Yes, the kind of a different take on the High Elf or Blood Elf look. They're more purpley, more dark, more. There's more of a night-style take on them. The hookahs, man. Holy crap, there are hookahs everywhere. Blizzard loves hookahs. The Dry Eye used to have hookahs everywhere, too. That was part of their aesthetic as well. As well as the, if you remember the Blood Elves, if you ever went to the Scryers part of Shattrath, they had hookahs there, too. So, yeah, very, I don't know, leisure aesthetic. Yeah, little wine glasses over there. The drip, these look like different, what's it called? Glass orbs hanging from the ceiling and stuff. So, yeah, they have a specific look for sure. Suramar, one of the best cities ever put in the game. Certainly somewhere you'd want to live, and maybe somewhere that they would let us live eventually. And then we got the Tauren here. Yes, maybe you love your animal skins hanging on the wall. your leather hide and your tents, right? Maybe you just want to live like a Native American or something else, or another native tribe. They have a very specific look to them for sure. The Tauren, one of the OGs of WoW as well, and a very specific look to them. If you want to see what the Tauren aesthetic look like, you know, go to, what's it called? Not Tauren Mill. I'm trying to think of, damn it, their city. What the hell? Blood something? Why can't I remember right now? What the fuck is... I'm getting Alzheimer's. I'm getting Alzheimer's for sure. But anyways, go out to Mogor, and check out their city. Go see what Thunderbluff. What the fuck is wrong with me? Yes. Go check out their city. Go see what it's all about. Their aesthetic is very particular there. They have totems everywhere. Very shamanistic style. Very naturistic style. For sure. Yeah, Bloodhoof is what I'm thinking of. Bloodhoof Village. That's what I was mixing up with Thunderbluff. Trolls and Zandalari. Yes, the Trolls have a very specific aesthetic, but much less fleshed out. Right? Because the Trolls never had their own island. They always lived with the Orc. Now, if you want to talk about the Zandalari Trolls, their aesthetic is very particular. Very Aztec-y look, you know, very particular. I think the Zandalari have one of the best aesthetics in the game. Their music, their city, everything about them to me was very cool. I loved everything about them. So Zandalari would be very popular. As far as like the Darkspear Trolls and everything, it's really just, I don't know, huts on an island. They don't really have too much in terms of what their actual aesthetic would look like. Recently, they got a bunch more added in terms of, what was it, their Heritage Armor questline and everything else. So they got a little bit more added to the game. But really, if you wanted to look at what a troll aesthetic would look like besides what the Zandalari is, I would say maybe the Amani Trolls. They're probably more fleshed out. They got more design in the game than the regular Darkspear Trolls do. So go check their place out. But yeah, Trolls could be an addition. If there were, I would expect Zandalari to come before any because they have the most stuff that they could easily add into the game right now. And then Undead. Yeah, Undead. Spider webs and coffins. I mean, what more can I say? Yeah, you wanna be an undead person living in the undead style.
I was scrolling the GoFundMe and came across something interesting.
What?
Apparently Sam has started a GoFundMe to create a furry
This is not true. This is false news.
Is only Sam's might be getting some
fake
new
news.
content or rather some new tale.
No,
also, it's
not
nice
true.
to see you honoring Canada with your Be the First Owner. Equals 3.
There's just nothing but lies told there. None of that's true. If you want to donate to my furry suit, the link is in the chat. Yes, the coffins and shit. Yeah, why not? Undercity style. You want to be an undead person living in a shitty ass house covered in spider webs. Be my guest, not my style. Volpera. Do I have to talk about Volpera? I mean, they're a nomad race. They have tents, right, and wagons. I don't know. What, you want to be a Volpera? Then you're not my friend. I don't know. What is it? Whatever. Earthen. Earthen have a different look than the regular dwarves, right? Less squarey, more, I don't know, eartheny. They've got a very obvious aesthetic in Khazalgar. We see it everywhere with the kind of geometric looks to a lot of their furniture, but more, it's different than the regular dwarves, for sure, and the Dark Iron dwarves who've got their very under-the-mountain look, right? Nobody wants to play Earthen. Yeah, well, Earthen are the least played race, but what I can say is their aesthetic's pretty cool, so I wouldn't mind having their aesthetic. I do love Dornegal. I think it's a very cool-looking city, and yeah, you could imagine living in it with this kind of room here. So not a bad look from the Earthen. Whether or not we'll get them is something that you could use. That's TBD. The Pandaren, obviously. You know, they're very, you know, they take a lot from the Chinese culture and all that. Yes, a lot of people love the Pandaren aesthetic. To me, they got a bad rap when Mists of Pandaria came out, but I thought Pandaria was one of the most beautiful continents added into the game to this day. I love Pandaria. And the Chinese aesthetic, very cool here. I love this little circular bed in the wall built in. This is very cool. Obviously, they love to drink. You got your, you know, you got your keg up on the wall here. Very much, as I said, takes a lot of root in East Asian culture and stuff like that. So a nice looking room here. Pandaren could certainly be one that I see coming up. And then last here, we got Drakthir. The Drakthir had a ton of detail added in. If you ever went to the, what's it called? Dragon City, then you got to see a lot of this. Valdrakken had a ton of this stuff in it. There were a lot of rooms with a lot of detail, a lot of beds, a lot of stuff going on in this place. So yeah, Valdrakken had a ton of stuff that they could easily pull from and put into player housing. It was very, I don't know how to describe it, royalty. That's how the best way I could describe this. It's a very royal-esque feeling to the Drakthir look. A lot of gold, a lot of pendants, a lot of jewelry everywhere. Books on the shelves, sure, rugs and things like that. That's fine. Yeah, this is what your Drakthir room would look like. So if you're a Scaly Boy and you want to be a Scaly Boy and live like a Scaly Boy, well, this is your Scaly Boy room. There you go. Of all of these, as I said, probably for me, Zandalari would be one of my favorites to see. I always thought their aesthetic was really cool, as well as the Worgen aesthetic, right? I always thought they had a very cool one as well. But for me, actually, I'm a plain old Andy who loves to play as a human. And yes, this one does it just right for me, the human aesthetic. This is what I want. I want to live in Elwyn Forest, and this is my fantasy right here. Besides that, did I miss anything? Drop it in the chat. Who knows? But this is all, really, today, in terms of news.